Hey YouTube, Bearded Bristol back with a little weekend philosophy. It's been a while since we've heard those words, isn't it? I have been missing some actual philosophical philosophizing, or some such. Anyway, have a little pipe filled with some Dunhill early morning pipe. I have a little bit of scotch here. And we're going to have a little chat. That's right. And this time stuff's getting real. I've said for a long time that I would not talk politics here. I am throwing that out the window because this whole stupidity-ness of this Nike mess / Colin Kaepernick / burning the flag / kneeling during the anthem / whatever is making me insane. And you're going to go along for the ride with me, and please, once you start, please hang in there. I'm taking everybody to task, myself included to a small degree, because I'm always right. I mean, not really, but I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think I had some ground to stand on, right? So let's start at the beginning. Colin Kaepernick's an idiot. Not because he knelt on the field, not because he doesn't have a right to peaceful protest, not because of any of the above. He just chose the wrong flippin' venue, the wrong flippin' time. I just went and did a little lookings up to make sure I was right on what I was talking about. Martin Luther King Jr., who is widely regarded as the hero of the civil rights movements, I don't have to tell you much of the backstory. His belief was that peaceful protesting was the way to accomplish things, and turns out it was. But the locations in which he chose to protest were the source of the problems in most cases. Now, segregation was widespread, we won't argue that. But, marching in Selma, marching in Chicago, doing these things were in the heart of some very serious issues. So he took his peaceful protests to the source, okay? And again, Colin Kaepernick has every right to do what he did. So, that said, Martin Luther King Jr. was a very smart man, and understood the dynamics of the day, understood peaceful protests. There was a charisma about that man that may never be seen in another man of any color. I mean, he had it, and he had it figured out to boot. So let's fast forward to Colin Kaepernick, okay? So here's a gentleman who chose to protest, first by sitting on the bench, then by taking a knee upon some advice from someone else, reportedly a former military man or current. I digress on that. Great, it's a peaceful protest. I get it, but you're protesting at a sporting event, presumably to get a wider reach, wider reaction from the American public. Did you ever? But here is what I had a discussion with a former college friend of mine. Still a friend, but formerly of college. This person was involved with college government, as was I. And her point was, he can do whatever he wants, he's doing it peacefully. Okay, a couple of things wrong with that. First of all, he is technically on his employer's time, which no longer makes it a freedom of choice, so to speak. He is being paid to be there as a performer, as an entertainer, as an athlete. So the employer ultimately has the authority to hire, fire, bench, dismiss, whatever, okay? So my point, though, to her was, if you were protesting bad food in college, would you protest out in front of the music studio, or would you protest out in front of the cafeteria? My contention with this is he chose the wrong venue. And for heaven's sake, the dude lives in San Francisco. I mean, this is about as leftist a community as there is in the United States of America. If he had chosen to take a knee outside of the San Francisco Police Department, you can bet every local station, and we're talking San Francisco, so this is a major market, that translates to every national station, would have been there. And I will be completely honest, even though I do not totally believe in everything he's standing behind, that is a protest where I would have sat back and said, okay, maybe this is something I need to pay attention to. I mean, you're going to the heart, so to speak, in terms of law enforcement to protest police brutality, is at least the theory behind what we've been told. And to do that in front of a police station, and he had an entire summer in which he could do that. He has, had a couple of days off, no practice, where he could have done that, or even after practice, so on and so forth. Instead, he chose to do it at a place where people go to find escape. Okay? And again, he not arguing his right to peaceful protest. But he chose to do it where people had paid good money to go and be entertained. That is not, in my opinion, the place for political theater. And that's what it was. Again, if he had protested outside of the San Francisco Police Department, he would have gotten mucho media play. But beyond that, the message would have gotten out, and it would have gotten out sincerely and correctly from the beginning. So for that part, I say Colin Kaepernick's an idiot. And this is going to continue to debate, because we're in, the third round of this? Are you kidding me? A year and a half we've been dealing with this. We're in, the third round of CK debate mode. I'm so over this, I can't even tell you. Now, part number 2. NFL is full of idiots. I mean, not players. I'm talking about owners. I'm talking about whatever administration, Roger Goodell, so on and so forth. They're all idiots. They bungled this from the beginning. From the beginning. Oh my goodness. I can't even wrap my arms around the number of ways the NFL just completely bungled this mess. So, again, Colin Kaepernick, once he sets foot in the stadium, at least as far as I'm concerned, once he sets foot in the stadium, he is now on the clock. Okay, once you're on the clock, you are subject to your employer's rules. Now, the employers may or may not have stated those rules about standing for the anthem, this, that, the other thing. That's fine. But once it was done, once he had done this, Pandora's box was opened. And I don't think there's anybody there that can disagree with that. And the NFL literally sat on their hands for 3 weeks, like a bunch of kids trying to figure out who gets to go first at the kickball team. I can't even think of a competent metaphor because it was that badly handled. Here was your opportunity to say, we're fining Colin Kaepernick because he voided team rules or league rules or whatever. Nothing. Okay, fine. They have had a year and a half to figure this out, and their end result is players no longer have to come out for the anthem if they choose not to, which then is kind of tacit support for protest or tacit support for extra time for stretching. I have no problem with either one. But this should have happened. I mean, the NFL, this is a good Lord, I can't even put a number to it. $30 billion a year industry? And that's just a shot in the dark. Billions upon billions of dollars of revenue to this industry a year, and they can't come up with a solution to this in a couple of days. There should have been an answer. Bam! We've got this figured out because we're the NFL. We are a monster revenue machine. We are a major, nope, nothing. So you have individual owners like Jerry Jones saying, my players will stand. I believe the Kansas City Chiefs have recently said something similar. It's all over the board, and that's fine. But then that's for the place of Roger Goodell at the head of the NFL saying we're leaving this to individual clubs to sort out. Nothing. Virtually nothing. Silence. Crickets. Oh, that was more of a dog whistle, but crickets. Literally crickets. Oh my God, NFL. Bear in mind, though, this is the same NFL that blacks out games in major markets if they're not sold out. And maybe you didn't know that. I just learned this recently. So if you live in, let's say, Seattle, and Seattle doesn't sell out the game, then Seattle cannot broadcast that game locally because they don't want their own fans to see the stadium not sold out. Hence, they're turning the screws to get Seattle people to actually go to the game. And that's why your major market games or your major weekend games that you see on TV are always pretty close to sellout crowds. So the NFL's playing their own shell game already. But to not have a solution for this in a matter of days is just mind-numbingly stupid to me. Even if you come out with the wrong decision, at least you made a decision. Instead, you sit on your hands silently. So the NFL is just as stupid, in my opinion, as Colin Kaepernick's choice of protest locations. So I called out those two, right? Okay. So let's move on to those of everybody out there burning their Nike stuff, okay? I'm going to show you something. It's a Nike basketball shoe. Wait. I even have a lighter. Lighter works. Shoe is still here. You know why? I paid for it. It is bought and paid flippin' for. I'm going to keep it. Until it wears out, I will keep this. Now, I am not a Nike supporter. I bought these shoes 7 years ago, right before I blew out my Achilles tendon. Not blaming the shoe. I wish I could. Blaming my own age. That's what it is. It's a Nike shoe. It's a basketball shoe. It's functional. It's not perfect. In fact, it kind of sucks. I'll be honest. Not burning my Nike shoes. I am not a fan of Nike right now. I hate the fact that they chose Colin Kaepernick as their face. Not burning my shoes. I bought and paid for those. I am not playing on national television. Some of you might like to see that. It would be disastrous, but hey, why not have some fun with the old guy busting himself up? That's personal property. I do not willingly burn my own personal property unless it is completely useless. Those shoes are still functional, and the number of people that will ever see me wear those shoes ranks in the tens. If it ever gets to 100, I'd be amazed. And yeah, okay, so you made your show of force, so to speak, on YouTube or on Facebook. God bless you. You're an idiot. I am not burning my own personal property to prove a point that I no longer support a brand. Look, if you have bought Nikes in the last 30 years, you're probably an idiot like me. For athletic purposes, their shoes largely suck. They do. And they have for a long, long time. I had one pair of Nike shoes back in the 90s that were epic. They were fantastic shoes. I bought a couple of pairs since then, including these, sadly, and they suck. Nike has become more about fashion to the pedestrian customer than it has been about athletic wear. And let's be honest, when I see some 30-something, somewhat overweight, no longer playing on the field of competition, burning his Nikes, I laugh to myself anyway. Are you kidding me? You are no longer the target demographic, son. I hate to tell you that. It's time maybe to grow up and buy a pair of Keds. Okay, that's tongue-in-cheek. Nobody wants to buy a pair of Keds. But seriously, you are not Nike's target demographic, so your show of force means nothing to them. But what you did do, by the way, was increase Nike's profits over Labor Day weekend by 14%. Read this statistic today. Typically on Labor Day weekend, Nike's profits go up 17%. This year they're up 31%. So your burning of shoes means nothing to them because guess what? One, they've already got your money. And two, all of the young, hipster, liberal, progressive, Democrat, whatever you want to call them, that saw you burn a pair of Nike shoes said, I'm going to go buy me some Nike shoes. I'm going to stand behind Colin Kaepernick and his stupid ass protest. You did nothing other than promote the brand. So keep burning your Nike stuff, keep burning your own money. Hey, wear those shoes for mowing. Wear them to pick up cow shit. At least use them because you paid for them. Burning your own personal property does nothing but make you look foolish. I'm sorry, that's just real. Oh my goodness, this hurts. So we're going to take a 6-second pause before I take on the Democrats and the liberals and the hipsters and all them, you guys too. So yes, Colin Kaepernick has a constitutional right of freedom of speech to protest in any way he chooses, provided that his employer at the time, San Francisco 49ers, allow him to do so, which they did unabashedly. And the NFL, as the overarching employer organization, however you want to term them, allowed him to do the same. So I have my Democrat and liberal friends that say, but his intentions, I frankly don't care. I frankly don't care about his intentions. If he had chosen an appropriate venue, his intentions mean everything. But intending to make a point while kneeling for the national anthem and not thinking it wouldn't stir up stuff, especially with a great number of law enforcement, firemen, ex-military, I don't know. I would think that would be kind of like right about here. That should have been right there in the thought process. And most of my rational friends will agree with that, even though they will still defend his intention. He felt he was doing the right thing. Okay, this is part of what's wrong in the world today, is feeling it's the right thing is not always the right thing. It's just like, well, it's my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. You are entitled to your opinion. Your opinion might also be wrong because there may be facts that will prove that your opinion is wrong. So you are entitled to your opinion, but it still may be wrong. Now, is it a fact that he can't protest? No, that's not a fact at all. But my point is, just because you support his intentions does not mean that he was right to do what he did where he did. He could have done it elsewhere, done it more effectively, caused far less divisiveness and controversy. Oh, and just so we're all clear, this is the same kid that at his press conference following this whole disaster wears a Fidel Castro t-shirt. You know, the Cuban dictator. You know, the communist dictator. Yeah. So, I realize, again, this is not exactly piercing the soul of my Democrat and liberal friends. Apologize for that. I wish I had something more substantial to prove to you that he's wrong. But a Castro t-shirt? Really? You're protesting police brutality. And you're wearing a Castro t-shirt. May I suggest that you look up Fidel Castro and what he did to the Cuban people over his years and years of dictatorship, and how he used the police department and law enforcement to brutalize his own people. I'm gonna leave that right over here. Go get it when you need to. Anyway. For anybody who's surprised, Nike is located in Portland, Oregon. And if you aren't familiar with Portland, Oregon, conservatives, Democrats, whoever you may be out there, Portland, Oregon is what UC Berkeley wants to be when it grows up. I mean, there, to my knowledge, is not a bigger liberal haven out there than Nike. So the whole notion that they chose Colin Kaepernick as their mascot is not the least bit surprising to this guy. I mean, it's just, wow. Oh, Nike wants to create controversy. Oh, who knew? Nike wants to promote a left-leaning police brutality style agenda. I'm shocked. I guffaw. I don't even know where to go with that. Okay, so that said, again, calling out my Democrat and liberal friends who are defending Colin Kaepernick for his right to protest. Again, not denying that at all. I think the time and place was very ill thought out. But he has every right to do that, as does Nike to support that. Okay? So Nike chooses Colin Kaepernick as their mascot for their 30-year Just Do It thing. First of all, I think that's just the worst idea ever. But I'm not based in Portland. Clearly their profits were up 14% over Labor Day weekend, as I cited previously. But if my left-leaning friends don't think that Nike did this for profit, they are sorely, sorely mistaken. That new pair of Nike shoes that they, or potentially one of you, just purchased, most of that money goes right into Nike's pocket. Because Nike, despite the left-leaning nature, left-leaning leadership that they may have, they're still in this to make money. And they're making money off of you now. They're not making money off the dude that burned his shoes. They already had his money. Now they're making money off of you. What do you think about that? The capitalist Nike, left-leaning they may be, liberal agenda promoting, or supporting, I shouldn't say promoting, but supporting Colin Kaepernick and his quest and police brutality, this, that, the other thing. God bless them. They can do whatever they want. I have no problems with that. But to my knowledge, they're still building most of those shoes in sweatshops in China. So police brutality this, police brutality that. How about human rights? In the era where we're demanding $15 minimum wage for American workers, we have people in China stitching shoes for like 30 cents an hour. And if you think I'm wrong, you can Oprah that. I think it was an Oprah thing. Anyway, it's on the interwebs. 20 cents an hour like 20 years ago. Chinese labor building Nike shoes. So we can support Colin Kaepernick and his quest for better equal rights, this whatever it is he wants from the police. Okay? But you're doing that indirectly through a country who has no problems taking advantage of human labor at well under our standard for poverty. Okay? Just make sure you let that all sink in before we pledge allegiance to Nike under the swoosh. Gosh. This has been fun. This has been liberating for me. I'm not sacrificing everything, nor would I claim to. There will not be a swoosh at the end of this little rant, just so you know. But I also said I would take myself and others to task as well. I am a libertarian. I believe very strongly in the written word of the Constitution as it stands. And Colin Kaepernick has every right to do what he did. He did it. My Republican and conservative friends have every right to burn their own personal property, silly as that may be, or to stop watching the NFL in protest. Hey, God bless each and every one of you. I mean that very seriously. I'm going to continue to watch football. I enjoy the sport. You can stop watching it. You can burn all your stuff. You can turn off the TV. That is your right. And that is your show of force to the NFL. So good on you for doing it the right way. To my Democrat friends and liberal-leaning friends, Support Colin Kaepernick. Do it all the way. But do not misunderstand that this could have been done so much differently, simpler, and had such a profound impact. So intentions aside, time and place matters. And you can, if you can channel Dr. King, you'll understand that. If you look at where and when he did his protests, those locations, those times meant something. They were relevant to the cause. So don't just dismiss something or support something simply because intentions are good. And also don't forget that the company that you're now lauding has no problems taking your money. None at all. And don't think that's going to be equal distribution amongst its employees. Most of that will line the pockets of executives and higher management. So please go out and buy 6 pairs of Nikes in support of Colin Kaepernick, knowing that it's the executives, you know, that 99% movement. You're giving money to the 1% when you buy a pair of Nikes. Colin Kaepernick is not getting a bunch more of that money. He's already been bought and paid for by Nike. That's an endorsement deal. That's how business works. But don't think because you buy a $120 pair of Nikes that Colin Kaepernick's getting $20 for his favorite cause. No. The executives, the upper management, is getting probably most of that money. The rest of it, well, no, they're just getting most of it. That's pretty simple, plain and cut. Simple. And to myself and to my libertarian friends, this is where we failed. We like to sit back in the background and say, oh, these guys are silly, and these guys are silly. We got it. I mean, I'm the guy. I'm admitting it. I've been sitting back in the background on this one for a long time saying, I'm smarter than everybody else. But I haven't been willing to actually put that on the table. So that is on my fault. That is on the fault of my libertarian friends, because we are way too eager or complacent, willing to sit on the sidelines and just castigate the other two sides, both to the left and the right. I support Colin Kaepernick's freedom to do as he chooses, as I support anybody who opposes him from completely not watching football. I get everything. I get everything on each side of this. I get why people are upset on the right. I get why people are upset on the left. The fact of the matter, though, is that if social media was not this giant conductor, you know, this is like chewing on aluminum when you have braces. Okay? Social media is just flat out a disaster for humanity because we still are not mature enough to handle it, myself included. That's just the way it is. So, anyway, this has been Weekend Philosophy. And this has felt so good for me that we just may do more of this political kind of crap, because I have a whole satchel, a whole pocket full of stuff that I would just love to topic out on and beat both sides to death and occasionally whip myself in the process. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit about both sides in the middle, about what's all going on here, because it's insane. This should not have been a 3-year discussion. And when was the last time you actually heard police brutality in conjunction with Colin Kaepernick? It's been an awful long time, because it's gotten to be so much about patriotism, not patriotism, statism. Proof to me that, again, if he had just chosen a more appropriate place and time, his message could have gotten through. Instead, it's been lost on the flag. And I love my flag. I am an American to the core. I am a constitutionalist. But the whole idea that he shouldn't be allowed to do what he did is nonsensical to me. But it's equally nonsensical that he chose that was the way he was going to do it. Come on, people. And the fact that we can't get past either of those things and have a rational discussion is one of the most mind-numbing, exploding things. Scotch. And I barely... Geez, I've still got half a pipe left. Anyway, happy philosophizing. And no matter who you are or where you are, hope you're having a great time. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.